You are mistaken if you think you know how Roman soldiers dressed. Everyone is familiar with the image of a legionnaire clad in shining armor, wearing a helmet and carrying a large rectangular shield. We have seen it in dozens of films and in the pages of textbooks. But what if I told you that this image is just the tip of the iceberg, and that the everyday reality of a soldier was much more complex and interesting? His equipment was not just a set of iron, but a system thought out to the smallest detail for survival in any conditions, from scorching Syria to foggy Britain. Watch the video to the end, and you'll find out which piece of clothing, not considered armor, could tell you more about a soldier than his track record. What if I told you that we would begin our study of equipment not with a helmet or a sword, but with what was hidden under the tunic? We are talking about undergarments. The basis for any Roman, including a soldier, was the sublagacculum, a simple loincloth made of linen or wool. Imagine modern underwear with its complex cut, elastic inserts, and high-tech materials. The Romans solved the same problems of comfort and hygiene with a simple piece of fabric wrapped around their hips. It was not underwear in the modern sense, but rather a universal item of clothing worn by both athletes and workers. The sublagacculum was a long strip of fabric about 30 centimeters wide that was wrapped around the waist and between the legs, with the ends fastened to the belt. The technique of wearing it was passed down from father to son and varied depending on occupation and social status. If you lived in ancient Rome, you would have mastered dozens of ways to tie this bandage, from a simple knot for everyday wear to a complex system of fastenings for heavy physical work. For a legionnaire who spent months or even years on campaigns, such a simple thing was a matter of basic hygiene and comfort. It protected the skin from rubbing against the rough fabric of the tunic and elements of armor. In hot climates, the sublagacculum could be the only clothing worn during heavy engineering work, such as building a camp or a road. Long marches with heavy equipment created a serious risk of chafing and inflammation in the groin area, which could put a soldier out of action just as badly as a combat wound. A high-quality sublagarium made of soft linen was a real lifesaver in such conditions. Imagine the discomfort of a multi-day march without this protection. Every step would be torture, and simple movements would cause pain. In northern provinces such as Britain or Germany, legionnaires often wore several layers of sublagariculum for extra warmth. Woolen versions of the bandage provided insulation in cold climates while maintaining freedom of movement. If you served on the border with barbarian tribes, you would understand the importance of every piece of clothing that could protect you from the harsh weather. The simplicity of this bandage was its main advantage. It was easy to wash, repair, or remake from any suitable piece of fabric. It was that inconspicuous but absolutely indispensable item that provided a basic level of comfort in harsh field conditions. Repairing and replacing the sublagacculum did not require any special skills or tools. Any legionnaire could mend a hole or replace a worn bandage with a new one. In the conditions of long campaigns, when supplies of new clothing were irregular, such self-sufficiency was critical. Imagine a situation where your underwear can be repaired with a needle and thread, which are available in any military camp. This is a level of practicality that is unattainable for many modern items. It was precisely these small details that gave the Roman army its endurance. Attention to details that might seem insignificant actually ensured the legion's combat readiness in the most difficult conditions. Every piece of equipment, from a simple loincloth to complex armor, was designed with practicality and durability in mind. It is interesting to see how this topic is perceived in different parts of the world. Where are you from? How practical do you think such clothing was in comparison with modern equivalents? Are you ready to learn the truth about the most basic part of a legionnaire's wardrobe? Over their loincloths, each soldier wore a tunic. It was a simple shirt made of two pieces of fabric, usually wool, sewn together with openings for the head and arms. Imagine a modern t-shirt, but made of coarse wool and sewn by hand without any darts or shaped lines. The Roman tunic was as simple as possible in design. Two rectangular pieces of fabric sewn together at the sides, with openings for the arms. It was about knee length and was belted at the waist. Such simplicity of cut was due not only to the economy of material, but also to practical considerations. The tunic had to be easy to wash, quick to dry, and not restrict movement during combat or physical work. If you were to put on a Roman tunic, you would initially be surprised by its loose fit and the absence of the familiar details of modern clothing. No sleeves, collars, or fasteners. Contrary to popular belief, not all tunics were bright red. This color was indeed popular, as red dye was relatively inexpensive and considered masculine. However, the color of the tunic could depend on the region where the legion was stationed and the local dyes available. Red dye was obtained from various sources, ranging from cheap ochre to more expensive cochineal, which created a wide palette of shades from pale pink to dark burgundy. In provinces where red dyes were rare or expensive, legions used what was available locally. There were tunics in white, beige, green, and other natural colors. Imagine a Roman legion stationed in Egypt. Their tunics could be dyed yellow and brown with local vegetable dyes. In Gaul, soldiers wore tunics dyed with the juice of local berries in shades of blue and purple. If you served in such a legion, your uniform would reflect not only your affiliation with the Roman army, but also the characteristics of the region where you served. Wool was chosen as the main material for a reason. It kept you warm in cold climates, even when wet, and allowed your skin to breathe in hot weather by wicking sweat away from the body. For winter campaigns in northern provinces, such as Germany or Britain, soldiers wore several tunics on top of each other, creating a multi-layered protection against the cold. Wool had the unique property of retaining heat even when wet, which was critically important in conditions of frequent rain and river crossings. Unlike linen, which became cold and unpleasant when wet, a woolen tunic continued to warm the soldier's body. The multi-layered clothing system allowed legionnaires to adapt to temperature changes throughout the day. In the morning, they could wear 3 tunics, and by noon, they could remove the extra layers. The quality of the wool varied greatly depending on the soldier's status and wealth. Veterans and centurions could afford tunics made of fine merino wool, while recruits had to make do with coarse sheep's wool. If you had served in the legion for several years, you would have noticed how the quality of your clothing improved along with your salary and status. What color do you think would be most practical on the battlefield? But the tunic was only the foundation. What if I told you that the most striking and indicative element of his status was attached to it? I will reveal the most closely guarded secret of the Roman uniform. I am talking about the cingulum, or balteus, a military belt. It was not just an accessory for holding up the tunic and fastening the sword. Imagine modern insignia, epaulettes, chevron, stripes, which instantly reveal the rank and affiliation of a soldier. The Roman cingulum performed all these functions at once, but was a much more noticeable and impressive element. The cingulum was the main symbol of status and identification of a legionnaire. If you met a man in Roman military uniform on the street, the first thing you would notice was this belt, which unmistakably identified him as a professional soldier. Losing the belt was considered the greatest shame. It was equivalent to losing military honor and meant exclusion from the military class. The belt was made of thick leather and richly decorated with bronze or tin metal plates, often silver-plated. The higher the soldier's rank and length of service, the more luxuriously decorated his cingulum was. It was a kind of passport that could be used to identify a veteran. The creation of a high-quality cingulum required the skills of several craftsmen, a tanner for the base, a metallurgist for the decorative elements, and an engraver for the patterns. The most luxurious examples could cost several months' salary of a simple legionnaire, but they served for decades and were passed down from generation to generation. An experienced eye could determine not only the rank of the owner at a glance, but also which campaigns he had participated in, as many decorations symbolized specific military achievements. The most notable part of the belt was the apron of several leather straps hanging down in front. Each strap was also studded with metal rivets and ended with a heavy tip. This apron had no protective function. The number of straps on the apron also indicated status. A simple legionnaire might have 4 to 5 straps, while a centurion might have 8 to 10. The metal decorations on the belts often depicted military symbols, patron gods, or the owner's personal achievements. Imagine the weight of this construction, several kilograms of metal and leather that soldiers wore every day, demonstrating their belonging to the military elite. Its main purpose was to make a distinctive clinking sound when walking, announcing the soldier's arrival and emphasizing his special status. For civilians, this sound was a sign of respect and perhaps fear. The sound of the Roman military belt was so distinctive that it could be heard from several hundred meters away. When a detachment of legionnaires marched through the streets of the city, the metallic clanking of their belts created a special atmosphere, a mixture of pride and anxiety among the townspeople. This sound signified the presence of a force that could both protect and punish. If you lived in a Roman city and heard the approaching clang of cingulum, you would instinctively straighten up and prepare to show respect to the passing soldiers. Are you ready for the shocking truth about Roman sandals? The legionnaires' footwear, known as caligae, was a true masterpiece of engineering. They were sturdy sandals made of thick oxhide with an open top that provided excellent ventilation. Imagine modern hiking boots with their complex lacing system, waterproof membranes, and shock-absorbing soles. The Romans created equally effective footwear 2,000 years ago, using only leather, metal, and ingenious engineering. If you compared caligae to modern military footwear, you would be amazed at how many problems the Romans solved with what appears to be a simple design. The open design of caligae was the result of a deep understanding of foot physiology and military service conditions. Roman designers knew that soldiers' feet quickly sweat in closed shoes, which leads to softening of the skin and the formation of painful calluses. This was critically important during long marches, as it reduced the risk of calluses and fungal diseases. Ventilation through the open top ensured constant air circulation around the foot, allowing sweat to evaporate naturally. The strap system was designed to hold the foot securely without creating points of excessive pressure. Each strap had its own function. Some held the heel, others secured the instep, and others prevented the foot from shifting sideways. Imagine the ingenuity of the craftsman who, without knowledge of modern biomechanics, created shoes that were ideal for marching many kilometers with heavy loads. But the main secret of the caligae was hidden in their soles. They were studded with dozens of iron nails with large heads. These nails served three functions at once. The system of iron spikes on the soles of the caligae was so well thought out that each nail was placed in a specific location for optimal load distribution. Archaeologists have found caligae with different spike arrangements, from 90 to 120 nails on each sole, arranged in concentric circles or in a grid pattern. Master shoemakers knew the points of maximum pressure on the foot and placed the spikes exactly where they would be most effective. First, they greatly increased the wear resistance of the sole. A leather sole without metal elements would wear out in a few weeks of intense walking on rocky terrain. The iron spikes took the brunt of the load, protecting the leather from direct contact with abrasive surfaces. This allowed a single pair of caligae to serve a soldier for months, which was critically important in conditions of limited supplies. Secondly, they provided excellent traction on any surface, whether mud, grass, or rocks. The iron spikes worked like modern studs on winter tires, digging into soft ground or clinging to the unevenness of hard surfaces. On wet rocks, slippery clay, or icy trails, caligae ensured that soldiers could place their feet with confidence. If you tried to walk along a mountain trail in ordinary sandals, you would understand the advantage of this design. Every step was reliable and safe. Thirdly, in close combat, a kick with a caligae-clad foot became a devastating blow. The weight of the iron spikes turned a simple kick into something like a hammer blow. In close combat, when the main weapon was lost or broken, caligae became an additional weapon. A blow with such footwear could break an opponent's ribs or cause serious injuries to the enemy's shins and feet. However, this ingenious design had a drawback. In cold climates, the metal of the nails cooled the foot significantly, which could lead to frostbite. Therefore, in the northern provinces, soldiers insulated their caligae with woolen socks. The problem of metal's thermal conductivity became a serious challenge for the Roman legions in their northern campaigns. Iron quickly transferred body heat to the environment, turning the spikes into a kind of cooling radiator. In frosty weather, skin contact with metal could lead to frostbite in a matter of minutes. Legionnaires developed various ways to solve this problem, from thick wool socks to fur or felt pads. In particularly harsh conditions, soldiers wrapped their feet in extra strips of fabric or leather, creating an insulating layer between the foot and the metal. Some resourceful veterans rubbed animal fat on the spikes, which provided some protection from direct contact with the cold metal. Imagine the ingenuity of people who adapted southern footwear to the northern climate without being able to radically change its design. Have you ever had to wear uncomfortable shoes on a hike? But how did they protect themselves from the cold and rain with such open footwear? In the next chapter, you will learn how they coped with this problem. Roman soldiers had two main types of cloaks to protect them from the weather. The first was the sagum, which was a simple rectangular piece of thick woolen fabric. It was fastened on one shoulder with a fibula, a special clasp. Imagine a modern cape or poncho made of high-tech material with water-repellent and windproof properties. The Roman sagum achieved similar functionality using only natural wool and ingeniously simple design. If you put on such a cloak, you would understand that its rectangular shape was the result of careful calculations. It had to cover the maximum area of the body with the minimum consumption of expensive fabric. The fibula that fastened the sagum on the shoulder was not just a functional element, but also an indicator of the owner's status. Ordinary soldiers wore iron or bronze fasteners, officers wore silver ones, and higher ranks could afford gold fibulae with precious stones. The clasp was so well designed that the cloak could be put on and fastened with one hand in a matter of seconds, which was critically important in combat conditions. The sagum was versatile. It protected from rain and wind, served as a blanket at night, and could be used as a pillow when folded. The sagum was usually dark in color and made of undyed wool. The versatility of the sagum made it an indispensable piece of military equipment. One piece of fabric replaced several modern items of equipment. During the day, it protected from the sun and wind. During rain, it turned into a waterproof cape. At night, it became a warm blanket for two, and if necessary, it could serve as a stretcher for a wounded comrade. Skilled soldiers could even build a temporary shelter out of a sagum by stretching it between trees or spears. The dark color of the undyed wool was chosen not only for economic reasons, but also for practical ones. Such a cloak did not reveal the soldier's position at dusk and did not require special care, as dirt was less noticeable on it. The natural lanolin in the wool provided basic water repellency, which was enhanced by additional treatment with sheep fat. The second type of cloak, especially popular in the late Empire, was called a penula. It was similar to a modern poncho. It had a semicircular or oval shape with an opening for the head and was often equipped with a hood. The penula provided better protection from heavy rain as it completely covered the shoulders and arms. The evolution from the sagum to the penula reflected changes in military tactics and climatic conditions of service. While the sagum was ideal for the Mediterranean climate and mobile combat operations, the penula was better suited for long-term service in the rainy northern provinces. The hood of the penula was especially valuable during guard duty, when soldiers stood for hours in the rain or snow with no shelter. It was made of thick wool impregnated with lanolin, which made the fabric virtually waterproof. The process of impregnating with lanolin required special skill. The wool had to be evenly treated with sheep fat without compromising its ability to breathe or making it too heavy. A high-quality penula could protect a soldier even from heavy rain, while remaining light enough for everyday wear. The design of the penula allowed it to be quickly thrown over armor without removing weapons and equipment. Unlike the sagum, which required a certain amount of skill to place correctly on the shoulder, even an inexperienced recruit could put on a penula. This was especially important during sudden weather changes, when every second counted. What if everything you learned about Roman helmets is outdated? The soldier's helmet, known as a galea, was not just a metal helmet. Its design was deeply thought out. A wide rear visor protected the neck from blows from above. Large cheek guards covered the face, leaving only the eyes, nose, and mouth exposed. A visor above the eyebrows provided additional protection against blows to the forehead. Helmets were made of iron or bronze. Inside, there was a leather or felt lining that cushioned blows and ensured a comfortable fit on the head. At the top of the helmet, there was often a holder for a crest made of horsehair or feathers. Contrary to what is shown in films, in battle, crests were mainly worn by centurions for better identification, while ordinary legionaries wore them only at parades. Which part of the helmet do you think is the most well-designed? The helmet protected the head, But what covered the most vulnerable part? The Legionnaire's body. We will talk about this in the next chapter. The most famous type of Roman armor is the Lorica segmentata, the very armor made of horizontal metal plates connected by leather straps. It provided excellent protection against stabbing and slashing blows, was flexible, and allowed relatively free movement. However, it was difficult to manufacture and required constant maintenance. Imagine a modern bulletproof vest with ceramic plates. Lorica segmentata worked on a similar principle, distributing the force of the blow over a large area of metal segments. Each plate was carefully forged and fitted to overlap adjacent elements without creating vulnerable gaps. If you put on such armor, you would feel its amazing flexibility. A system of hinges and straps allowed you to bend, turn, and swing your weapon almost as freely as without armor. The manufacture of segmentata required the skill of a highly skilled armorer and could take several months of work. Each segment had to be forged individually, hardened to the required hardness, and then precisely fitted to the other elements. The system of leather straps and bronze rivets was so complex that it required the help of a comrade to put on correctly and regular maintenance to keep it in working order. Therefore, throughout most of Roman history, the most common armor was the Lorica hamata, ordinary chainmail. It was cheaper, easier to repair, and did not restrict movement, although it was inferior to the segmentata in protecting against direct stabbing blows. Chainmail remained in use by auxiliary troops and cavalry even during the heyday of the segmentata. Chainmail was a shirt made of thousands of interwoven iron rings, each of which was riveted or welded by hand. The manufacturing process was less technically complex than that of segmentata, but it was extremely time-consuming. It took several months of monotonous work to manufacture and connect the rings for one chainmail shirt. However, the result was practically eternal. High-quality chainmail could serve for generations, passing from father to son. Repairing chainmail was relatively simple. Damaged rings could be replaced with new ones right in the field using simple tools. If you wore chainmail on a long hike, you would appreciate this advantage. Where segmentata required complete replacement of damaged plates, chainmail could be repaired in a few hours by a traveling blacksmith. There was also a third type, Lorica squamata, or scale armor. It consisted of many small metal plates sewn onto a fabric or leather base. This type of armor was popular with standard bearers and musicians, as it looked very impressive. Scale mail armor required painstaking manual work to make hundreds of identical metal scales and attach them to the base. Each scale was attached to the fabric or leather with several stitches and then partially overlapped by the next, creating a flexible protective surface resembling fish scales. The effect of the metal shimmering in the sun made this armor particularly impressive during parades and ceremonies. Standard bearers and musicians chose squamata not only for its beauty, but also because their role in battle required maximum mobility. They needed to hold standards or play instruments while maintaining basic protection. Scaled armor provided a compromise between protection, mobility, and a prestigious appearance, suitable for these special roles in the legion. The large rectangular or oval shield known as the scutum was the basis of Roman defensive tactics. It was made of several layers of glued wood and covered on the outside with leather or felt. The edges of the shield were reinforced with bronze or iron, which increased its strength. Imagine a modern Special Forces ballistic shield. The scutum performed a similar function, but was made from natural materials using technology that was 2,000 years old. The construction of glued layers of wood worked on the principle of modern plywood. The fibers of each layer were arranged perpendicular to the previous one, which greatly increased the strength of the shield. If you tried to pierce such a shield with a sword, you would understand the genius of this design. The blade would get stuck in the wood without causing critical damage. The leather or felt covering served not only decorative purposes, but also performed an important protective function. It prevented the wood from cracking due to impact and moisture, and also absorbed some of the kinetic energy of flying projectiles. The metal edging around the edges turned the rim of the shield itself into a weapon. A blow with the edge of the scutum could break an arm or inflict a deep wound on an opponent. In the center of the scutum was the umbo, a large metal protrusion. It not only protected the hand holding the shield, but was also a formidable weapon in itself. A powerful blow with the umbo to the enemy's face or chest could easily knock him off his feet and give the legionnaire the opportunity to deliver the final blow with his sword. The umbo was a true work of blacksmithing. Its hemispherical shape optimally distributed the force of the blow, and its convex surface effectively deflected spearheads and arrows to the sides. The umbo weighed several kilograms, which turned it into a kind of battle hammer fixed in the center of the shield. Fighting with the umbo required special training. It was necessary to be able to deliver accurate blows while maintaining the defensive position of the shield. The scutum was quite heavy, but its curved shape allowed the weight to be evenly distributed across the arm and body. When closed together, the scutums formed the famous tortoise, a virtually impenetrable wall that protected troops from projectiles. The scutum weighed up to 10 kilograms, which required the legionnaire to be in excellent physical condition to wield it effectively during hours of combat. The curved design was the result of a deep understanding of biomechanics. The curvature of the shield mirrored the natural line of the arm and torso, allowing the muscles to work optimally. Imagine the strain on the left arm when holding such a weight in an extended position. Only months of training allowed a legionnaire to maneuver the shield freely in battle. Building a turtle formation required impeccable coordination and discipline. Soldiers had to move in sync, maintaining the density of the shield wall. The top row of warriors raised their shields above their heads, creating a roof, while the side rows held their shields outwards, forming walls. This living fortress could withstand a hail of arrows, stones, and even burning projectiles as it slowly advanced toward the walls of the besieged city. The legionnaire's main weapon was the short gladius sword. It was about 50-60 centimeters long. This seemingly short length was its main advantage in close formation. Imagine a modern special forces combat knife. The gladius worked on a similar principle, but was larger and designed for different tactical tasks. The short blade might seem like a disadvantage compared to the long swords of the barbarians, but in the context of Roman tactics, it was the ideal weapon. If you were fighting in close formation, where there is minimal space between warriors, you would understand the advantage of a compact weapon. A long sword simply cannot be used effectively when comrades are standing nearby. The gladius was primarily designed for thrusting, which was much more effective than slashing in close combat. A legionnaire did not need much space to swing. A short, quick thrust was enough. The geometry of the gladius blade was optimized for penetrating strikes. The pointed tip easily pierced armor and inflicted fatal wounds to internal organs. The technique of fencing with a gladius was radically different from that of long swords. Instead of wide slashing movements, legionnaires delivered a series of quick stabbing blows from behind their shields. A stabbing blow required less energy, was faster than a slashing blow, and inflicted more serious damage on the enemy. As a secondary weapon, each soldier carried a pugio, a broad dagger. It was used in those rare cases when a legionnaire lost his sword, or as a weapon of last resort. The pugio was also useful in everyday life as a universal knife. The pugio was not just a backup weapon, but also a multifunctional tool in the daily life of a legionnaire. It was used to cut food, cut leather straps, sharpen stakes for the camp, and perform dozens of other household tasks. The wide leaf-shaped blade ensured maximum effectiveness in both combat and peaceful situations. Imagine the versatility of this tool. In the morning, you cut bread with it. In the afternoon, you sharpen wooden stakes. And in the evening, it could save your life in battle. Like the cingulum, the pugio sheath was often richly decorated, emphasizing the status of its owner. The hilt and sheath of the dagger served as a kind of canvas for displaying the wealth and status of the soldier. From the simple ironwork of recruits to the luxurious silver and even gold decorations of veterans and officers. The quality of the pugio's decoration often surpassed that of the gladius itself, as the dagger was more visible in everyday life and served as a constant symbol of military dignity. Roman legionnaires were not called Maria's mules for nothing. In addition to weapons and armor, each soldier carried a huge camping kit called a sarcina. It was attached to a T-shaped pole that the soldier carried on his shoulder. Imagine a modern tourist with a heavy backpack weighing 15-20 kilograms. Even a one-day hike becomes a serious challenge for him. Roman legionnaires carried sarcinas weighing up to 30 kilograms every day, month after month, covering distances of 25-30 kilometers a day. If you tried to repeat such a march with full Roman equipment, you would understand where the nickname Maria the Mule came from. Only an animal has such endurance for carrying loads. The T-shaped design of the pole was an ingenious engineering solution that distributed the weight of the load in an optimal way. The horizontal crossbar prevented the bags from slipping, and the long pole allowed the load to be carried on the shoulder, freeing the hands for weapons. Experienced legionnaires wrapped the point of contact between the pole and the shoulder with soft cloth or leather to avoid chafing during long marches. The sarcina included a pot for cooking food, a bowl, a water flask, a bag with personal belongings, a few days' worth of grain, and tools such as a pickaxe, shovel, or axe. In addition, each legionnaire carried 2 sharpened stakes. Each item in the sarcina was carefully selected based on criteria of necessity, weight, and versatility. The pot was used not only for cooking, but also as a helmet in extreme cases. The bowl served as both a plate and a cup, and the tools performed dozens of different functions. Personal belongings were limited to the bare essentials: spare straps for armor, a needle and thread, a whetstone, and possibly an amulet or a letter from family. The grain ration was calculated for 304 days of autonomous nutrition, which required the soldier to be able to grind grain into flour and bake bread in the field. This made each legionnaire self-sufficient in terms of basic food, reducing dependence on supply trains. Imagine the skills a Roman soldier had to possess. He was a warrior, cook, baker, and builder all at once. Upon arriving at their overnight location, soldiers used these tools and stakes to quickly erect a fortified camp with a moat and palisade. Thus, the Roman army was not just a fighting force, but a mobile engineering machine. The construction of the camp began immediately upon arrival, regardless of how tired the soldiers were after a day's march. Each legionnaire knew exactly what to do. Some dug a moat around the perimeter, others piled up the dug-up earth into a rampart, and still others sharpened and installed the palisade stakes. In 2 to 3 hours, a real fortress grew out of nothing, capable of protecting thousands of people from a sudden attack. The versatility of the Roman soldier made the legions unique in the ancient world. An army that could not only fight, but also build roads, bridges, fortresses, and even cities. Modern military engineering troops perform similar functions, but they constitute a separate specialized service, whereas every Roman legionnaire was an engineer by trade. The equipment of a Roman soldier was not just a set of clothes and weapons. It was a comprehensive, well-thought-out system in which each element performed its own unique function, ensuring survival and combat readiness in a wide variety of conditions. From a simple loincloth to a heavy backpack, everything served a single purpose: to transform an ordinary man into a universal soldier capable of fighting, building, and conquering. It was this attention to detail, combined with the strictest discipline, that allowed Rome to create an army that was unrivaled for centuries. Which piece of Roman soldier equipment do you think is the most ingenious and well-designed? Share your opinion in the comments and be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next videos.